You have to spend money to make money. So this part of this second video is going to focus on expenses, the kind of expenses you'll need to document in your budget to explain what money will need to be spent to create and run your business. So the goals for this video will be how to determine those expenses, how to enter your expenses into your Excel online budget, how to use Excel functions to make calculations for you. This is a really powerful feature of Excel. You may already be familiar with it. And then creating a total expenses cell that will be used in the upcoming videos to create your total balance for your budget. Okay, so first, how to determine expenses. How to determine expenses. Let's look at the example budget that I made using this river interceptor idea, trying to recreate a single one of these interceptors in a river to collect plastic waste. I determined I would need a floating platform, these turbidity curtains that we'll look at in detail here in a second, a conveyor belt system to move the plastic waste from the river up into the dumpster inside the interceptor. I need a motor to run the conveyor belt system with some solar panels, the dumpster inside the system, and then I decided I would have a website to promote the business, and some promotional t-shirts are also expenses because you have to buy those things or pay the monthly charges for those things. So that's just a real basic um, example of the expenses for my project. You may ask, how would I know when I start to imagine creating this product or service, how would I know what the expenses would really be? You won't. I mean, it would take months or years to really develop something like this, and through trial and error, you'd figure out what kind of things you need to create your product. We're trying to do this in a few days, so you just try not to be. This is something that's challenging for me. Um, yes, you want to be realistic, but you don't want to get too bogged down in the details because it can really sort of lock you up and make it hard to move forward with the project. I feel like the hardest part about this project, especially initially, may be, you're working with in most cases, two other students on your team. They may not be in the same classes with you. So you need to, I would think, number one thing to do on this project would be agree on a way to communicate regularly. And when I say regularly, I mean throughout the course of the day, um, and outside of school as well, because you really need to come up with a shared vision and some shared understandings in order for your team to work well together and to be able to move forward and not to get bogged down in certain details and disagreeing about details. Okay, so with that in mind, if I was trying to recreate one of these interceptors, just a real basic version, these are the things I thought I would need. And so, as an example, when I understood what this turbidity curtain was, this thing that guides the plastic, I just Googled them, found one that I thought would work, and I've got some pictures here to show you how it works. It looks like just this system just floating on top of the water, but actually extends 4 feet down in the water. That's the curtain part. And so that if things bump into the barrier, they don't just bump underneath and float past. They get swept along with the current. And so, I found one that I thought would work. I looked at the price. I figured I would need about the 4 feet here describes the depth of the curtain, and the 50 feet describes how much you get. So you get 50 feet of this curtain when you buy one. And I figured I would need about 250 feet for my project. So I assumed I would be buying 5. And so I've got a price here, $667. So I'm going to show you how to just enter that. I renamed this. This is the file that we made together in the first video. I'm just going to start entering some things. Floating platform, turbidity curtain. And I'm going to say per 50 feet because I'm going to resize this because the number that I'm buying 5 50-foot lengths. I need 5 of these 50-foot lengths, so that's the quantity. I need 1 floating platform, so that's the quantity. The price I found for the floating platform was $3,500. The turbidity curtain, we were just looking at it. Um, each 50-foot length, if I'm assuming I buy 5 or more of them, would be $667. So I'll put 667 there. As you find things online, you need to annotate these cells. This is a big part of the rubric. So once you enter that $667, you're going to want to insert a note. Note or comment. Let me think about this. Now you want to insert a comment, but let me show you first. Let's copy and paste the URL. So the URL where I found this price, if I highlight it and I copy it, when I go back to my budget, I want to uh, click New Comment and then Control V, paste, because I want to be able to prove that I found that price online, and also give my teammates a way to, for example, if one of my teammates wants to look at this, they could copy it, open an incognito window, and just make sure this link works. Yeah, so a teammate could look it up, an investor could look it up from the budget, and that's an important part of annotating your cells. So you have to have some comments, maybe not for every single one, but you have to have some comments on some of your cells. It doesn't always have to be a URL. It could just be some comment um, regarding the price you found, or maybe the quantity. Maybe you want to put a comment on the quantity. Um, I'm projecting we need 250 feet total, so quantity 5 times 50 feet per unit, something like that. Just details so a teammate knows where I got these numbers from, where these ideas came from. And then I'll just enter some other expenses that I found. Motor and solar panels, dumpster, website, monthly charge, and promotional t-shirts. Okay, I decided I was going to, I found an expense of about $12 per t-shirt. I'm going to buy 1,000 of those to promote the business. Right now, I'm not worrying about total or balance. I'll show you that in a minute. The website monthly charge is $26.95 per month for 12 months. That's the amount. The quantity is how many months. So I'm sort of projecting a year's worth of that expense. I'm going to buy 2 of these dumpsters, and they cost about $1,343 each. You see, I've got a little formatting issue here where I didn't put the comma, but that's all going to work itself out because I'm going to show you how to format in the final video, finishing touches. I actually did that on purpose, and I want 2 of those. Motor and solar panels. I found a system, $2,500 for the whole system, so that's quantity 1. Similarly, I found a conveyor belt system for just under $5,000, $4,961. And here's where the going back to our goals for the video, you know, actually let me just stick on this part for a minute before I show you the next part. So this is not realistic. This is just my first best guess at what it would take to create one of these things. If I show you another example budget of a student, this cane toad spray, um, they figured they would need some spray bottles with carabiner hooks. They were imagining carrying these like when they're out and about in their local area, maybe jogging or something. You've got it on you at all times. And so those are relatively inexpensive, $1.40, and they're planning to buy 500 of those. So the quantity is really important. If you plan to sell 500 of your product, you need to make 500 of your products. The quantities need to reflect your projected sales. And then the spray itself, they decided that would be made up of per product, 1 ounce of bug spray and 1 ounce of sunburn spray. Now, I have no idea whether that would make an effective cane toad eradication spray. Most likely not. But like I said, don't get bogged down in the details. Although I do have an idea how we can leverage AI, and I'll show you that in a minute. But they figure that would cost 250 per and 245 per for those two items, and then there are their quantities. If you look at this budget for lionfish traps, much more detailed, many more components to these traps, and this food truck they're gonna have to buy because they're selling the tacos, all these things, all these considerations. Now, if this looks overwhelming, just realize that you've got many days to work on this and you're working in a team, so different teammates will be contributing to these ideas over time. Um, if I look at this Muscovy duck uh, service, they need one cage. I guess they're gonna catch one duck at a time. They need seeds, packs of seeds. I'm not sure what the seeds are for. Maybe that's the bait for the ducks. I guess that makes sense. They need 50 of those. So you see the quantity reflects how many you need to do the job you're going to do. Here you've got 50 of each of the item to make the cages, 5,000 t-shirts, 100 buoys. So it just depends, the quantity just depends on your expectations and your projections for your project. Okay, now how would I get a better idea, for example, for this cane toad spray, what I would really need? I went to ChatGPT 3.5, the one that everyone has access to, and I asked if I wanted to manufacture a spray to eliminate cane toads, what component materials would be needed. And here's what it gave me. And I'm not going to spend minutes of the video reading this, but if you want to pause and look, you'll see there's tons of advice and ideas of things you might need. And from each of these ideas, you could then maybe branch out and start looking up actual products as your expenses. Um, then I imagined, I was thinking about that lionfish trap idea. What would I need for a lionfish trap? And it gives me all kinds of ideas of different things I might need. And so I think a good way to use an appropriate way, in my opinion, to use ChatGPT is to sort of in the brainstorming part of this project when you're trying to figure out what would I need to make this happen. I think that'll actually make it. This is not something that was available to us previous years when we did this project, so it'll be interesting to see how helpful this actually is. Hopefully, very helpful. Okay, so going back to the example I made, we've got our the things we're expecting to have to spend money on, how much those things cost for one of each of those things, and then the quantity I'll actually need. Now, here's where you get into the power of Excel. You don't want to put, I know I'm buying one of these, so I could just enter 3,500 here. But then what if I decide later that I want an extra one? I want two of them. You don't want to have to constantly be updating this total. You want Excel to do that for you. So you type equals up in this field, you type equals, and then you click on this cell, that amount of money multiplied by, and that's the star button, the asterisk right above the 8, multiplied by this cell. B6 multiplied by C6, and then hit enter. And then that will calculate for you so that if I change the quantity, it will be reflected in the total. Now, here's another powerful thing you can do. Since I want all of these totals to reflect the amount multiplied by the quantity, I want that same function. So I can just grab this little square in the lower right-hand corner and drag it down to here. And now all of these will represent the product of the amount that I need multiplied by how many I need. Now, balance is a little trickier. You're trying to get a running balance of how much money you've spent line by line. So this first balance will equal this cell, this current total. So far, I've spent $3,500. This next balance will equal the $3,500 I've spent above plus this new expense, the $3,335 for the 250 feet of turbidity curtain. So E6 plus D7, enter. And now what this balance represents is a running total. So if all I needed were these first two items, I would need to spend a total of $6,835. But we need the rest of these items. So from this cell, specifically this cell, not this one, this is the one that adds the one above. I would drag this down And now what I have here is my total expenses after I bought everything here. And again, the nice thing is if I decide, okay, I actually want 200 promotional t-shirts, not only will this total expense be updated, but so will the total expenses for the project be updated. And so a big part of the rubric that I gave you is understanding how to use these Excel functions. So since this is a video, if this didn't make complete sense in class or we didn't have enough time to get to it well, you've got this video, you can pause, you can go back and see how those functions are created. Now, I want my total expenses down here. So I'm going to merge these fields and title this total expenses. And then in this specific cell, I'm going to reference by making it a function this overall expense, the total balance that results from adding up all these expenses. Which seems like, why would I do that? Why would I have this extra one? It's right here. It just looks nicer. It's down here. It's a summary of the expenses in your table, and we'll be using this along with something with a total income that we'll talk about on the next video to create a total balance for the entire project. Let me go back here and make sure we've done justice to all these goals for this video. We talked about how to determine expenses. I showed you how to enter expenses. We used Excel functions for the totals and the running balance, and we created a total expenses cell. So I think expenses are well explained in this video. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. You can email me and I'll get back to you right away. Thanks.